White Boy Radio. We're going back. Darrell Brooks. He's in the courtroom, and look, here you're gonna see this guy again asking his ex-girl that he used to beat up. This is the person who is with him when he does the horrendous act of the massacre with the SUV. He's asking her questions. Uploaded a video earlier. It's on the channel where he's attacking her for alcohol, being drunk. He's has to look at the domestic violence photo, the evidence in the courtroom. Here you have a different scenario where you have a guy. He was together with this girl on the day of arrest. They since broke up. But he's literally still stuck on the how much alcohol she consumed. And he's trying to push this narrative so hard where it comes to, they're talking about she's in a woman's shelter. And one of the rules and regulations in this shelter is no alcoholic, no beverages. So obviously, my guess here is she left with him. I think she said a Mike's Hard Lemonade, and he's drilling her about the rules of the shelter. He keeps repeating it and repeating it. And like I said on the last video, the judge finally snapped. She's like, stop with that. You've already asked it. She's already answered it. It's pretty crazy to see if you just think outside the box here, outside the courtroom. What you have here is a dude who, on the day of arrest, was with this girl. Yes, there's domestic violence. Yes, he punched her or just got a shut eye. All that, yes. But the thing is, I don't know how long they're dating. He's got to still have feelings for her. I mean, he evidently did the day of the arrest. He's now on the other side of the coin in the courtroom defending himself, and he's literally going to the extent of getting her kicked out of a shelter. I don't know her situation, if she's homeless, if there's a lack of money, whatever it is, but the point is she's living on assistance of a shelter. And he's driving the alcohol narrative so hard, he's now at rules and regulation of the shelter. And he's literally trying to get her thrown out. Let's play the clip. Let me know how you feel about the comments. Things wild. Darrell Brooks, complete scumbag. Let's see what happens with the rest of this trial. We'll be covering it.
Yes, I told you we were. And obviously, we were going to hang out. I never told Mr. Brooks to hang out with me. I told him where we were.
So why would, if there was an argumentative conversation prior to you meeting up with the alleged defendant, why would you tell the alleged defendant where you were?
Sustained.
You just stated that you really don't know the city of Waukesha. Would that be fair to say?
Yes.
So how would you know exactly where you were?
Because I was with Corey and she's familiar with this area.
Would it be fair to say that Corey overheard these conversations between you and the alleged defendant?
Yes, she was my roommate. She heard every conversation.
You say every conversation. What would that
refer to? When she was in the room with me, when I was always talking to Mr. Brooks on the phone, she would hear the conversation. She heard me and Mr. Brooks, me, Erica Patterson, and Mr. Brooks arguing the day of the parade earlier before we left.
So it would be fair to say that you were engaged in conversation with the alleged defendant before you even left the women's shelter?
Yes.
And those argumentative conversations continue into your hanging out?
Yes.
Would it be fair to say that that's what led you to drink?
No.
Would it be fair to say you were drinking because that's what you wanted to do?
Yes.
Is it true that one of the rules and requirements of being at the women's shelter is no drugs and no alcohol? Would that be fair to say?
Yes, but when I was drinking, it was at Frame Park. I was not at the women's shelter.
would it be fair to say that you knew you had to come back into the women's shelter at some point that day, that they have a curfew?
Yeah. And I made it before curfew.
Let me back up a little bit. You did state that part of the rules and requirements for being in the women's shelter is no drugs and no alcohol, correct?
Yes, it was not in the women's shelter.
That's not what I'm asking. It's part of the requirement and rules of the women's shelter, no drugs, no alcohol.
Yes. Sustained. Next question, Mr. Brooks.
Is there any type of drug and alcohol testing at the women's shelter?
I don't know. No.
No, or you don't know?
I don't know.
Would it be fair to say that if it was found that you were engaging in drugs and alcohol, that you might have lost your place at the women's shelter?
Sustained. Next question.
So around what time were you hanging out with Miss Corey, you said?
I don't remember.
Do you remember where you were at?
Frame Park.
Do you remember where in Frame Park?
No.
And approximately at what time did you meet up with the alleged defendant?